The Avengers is directed by Joss Whedon and of course stars Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson, Samuel L. Jackson, and a ton of other people, and is of course one of the biggest major blockbusters of all time, and so far Marvel's most successful and lucrative movie to date. Now I promised you guys I would be talking about some older films, and I definitely am going to tackle that. My most anticipated movie, tied with Star Wars Rogue One, is of course the new Captain America film. And that made me thinking, why don't I tackle all the rest of the Marvel films I've done? I've so far tackled both the Captain Americas, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Avengers 2, but I need to talk about all the rest of them before I see this movie. So the basic plot of this film is Asgardian god Loki, played fantastically by Tom Hiddleston, is now in possession of this new power called the Tesseract, which has the power to destroy worlds and is revealed later on to be an Infinity Stone. And of course, Earth's mightiest heroes, Captain America, played by Chris Evans, Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Scarlett Johansson, and Sam Jackson's Nick Fury are out to stop him, and a bunch of awesome action scenes ensue in one of the biggest blockbusters of all time, and I was a part of it at the young, tender age of 12. I'll never forget seeing this movie in theaters. I'll never forget it. It was such an incredible experience. It was one of the few movies that I ever went to on opening night where I actually really had trouble finding a seat because it was packed. And this is one of the few big movie phenomenons that I've ever really been a part of, because it's all of the Avengers. The beginning chapter of Earth's mightiest heroes now fighting against one guy who's evil, who has this power that can destroy worlds. And for me, first seeing it, this movie was awesome. I honestly think it's one of those movies that when everyone saw it, everyone thought, yeah, that was really good. So much fun, so much action. The characters are awesome. We're getting used to these superheroes. And now we got Avengers 2, which really, in my opinion, was a very disappointing movie, because I felt like it was almost a rehash of the last act of this movie was the last act of that movie, and it felt like we've seen this before, we've gone through the motions, we know the characters, but in this movie it was all about setting up the characters, the banter that they had, and then finally fighting against evil. And I really think this movie captures a great 3-act structure. What I really loved about the movie, I think the most, was its final act, but I want to talk about the first 2 acts of the movie, because I think that as of right now, it has a pretty good first act structure. We get introduced to our heroes, Scarlett Johansson, then Iron Man, then Captain America, then Hulk, and then Thor, and it's just a great introduction to all those characters because they all have those individual moments to shine with those 2-minute intros that I really liked. I really thought the first act really introduced our characters very well, gave them the situation that was at hand, and began their little crusade against Loki, one by one by one. But what I liked about the first act was showing them the helipad that they used later on in other Marvel movies, but I love the fact that it could go invisible. It's kind of cool, but it kind of looked a little bit conspicuous when you see the special effect. But nonetheless, though, that is really cool, so that they really aren't detected by any type of radar. I also really like in the first act how well they humanized the Hulk. And of course, Mark Ruffalo playing the Hulk, I think he did an amazing job. He's by far the best Hulk we've ever had. Way better than Eric Bana, and a lot better than Edward Norton, because those Hulk movies I thought were just silly. And with whatever action scene that's on the screen, it's always great thanks to Joss Whedon's awesome direction. I mean, this guy has been involved with comic books and comic book stories for years and for decades. Of course, creating his famous Buffy the Vampire Slayer show, which I actually have seen a few episodes, and it's actually not that bad. Sarah Michelle Gellar is just incredible in that show, but I mean, he's really been involved with a ton of other comic book films in the past, and this, I think, truly may have been his best comic book film. I think that the first Avengers has a very good first and third act structure, and I believe that the third act of the movie is really what I was coming to the movie to see, because I'll never forget seeing it in theaters, and then seeing that, of course, pan 360 shot of them just getting ready for battle. That was the ultimate money shot that was used for a couple years. And with Avengers 2, I really liked the group shot at the beginning of the film, the slow-mo shot, if you guys know what I'm talking about. But I really have always enjoyed that 360 shot. And I'll never forget, we were all clapping when that moment came on because they're all together, fighting together. That's what I love. The action scenes, as I said before, are just glorious, and they're so glamorous, and they're filmed so well. Joss Whedon really knows how to get in there and really film the actors fighting, because it's really hard to see any type of stunt doubles within the scenes because he uses the camera angle so well to try to hide that, but at the same time he really wants to show that, and the actors once again are very committed to their own stunts, as you've seen in the behind the scenes videos. But my biggest issue with the Avengers is of course the second act, because I feel like there's a little bit of an inconsistency towards a very straight line film. There's kind of like that straight line for the first half of the movie, and then all of a sudden kind of weaves a little bit. It just takes a little too long for me. So other than that, there really isn't that much more that can be said about this movie because it's a gigantic blockbuster. And of course, the Hulk smash scene, I'll never forget once again seeing that in theaters for the first time, and every single person laughing for so long. I'll never forget that. I was laughing so hard with my friend, and it was just such a great experience to see the Avengers in theaters. I thoroughly remember seeing this movie and coming home thinking, wow, that was a great experience. I had a very, very good time with it. And rewatching the movie for like maybe the 20th or 25th time, I had a great time rewatching it, despite a little bit of an inconsistency in the second part of the film. So I'm going to give Marvel's The Avengers an A-. So what do you guys think about Earth's Mightiest Heroes? Do you like him? Do you hate him? You somewhere in the middle? Well, guys, as always, love to hear those comments. So send them in the comment section below. My main goal is to tackle at least 2 Marvel movies per month because I need to tackle the first 2 Iron Man films, and of course I have to tackle the 2 Thor movies, so it's going to take a little while, but I'm very excited for Captain America 3 Civil War. What do you guys think about that too? You guys excited? You not? I love to hear those comments too. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned.